If you were to ask me what I thought the most underrated subgenre of horror was, there's a few that would probably come to mind. To start with, there's my favourite. Slasher movies are always a great time because even the worst ones have this dumb charm that make them at the very least entertaining to watch and laugh at. I mean, look at the sheer number of iconic faces that have come from this genre. I'm talking the likes of Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, even Chucky. Most people can name all three of those without even seeing the films. If that's not a testament to how big an impact this subgenre has, I don't know what is. But as much as I love that side of horror, there's another genre that I would rather talk about this month. Because at the end of the day, horror is crafted with the intention to scare us, and given the way that subgenre has pushed more into comedy, I don't really think the slasher genre succeeds in that as much anymore. So what is the answer to that question? Well, for me, there isn't a whole lot that I find more unsettling than a well-made found footage movie. The whole idea of found footage is crafted around this idea that creates this isolated experience, throwing you directly into the line of fire of whatever is stalking the protagonists. So what I decided I would do this month is sit down and look at 3 of the found footage horror films I feel don't get enough attention. And if I can't cause one of these by the end of this to be one of your new favourite scary movies, at the very least, I'd like to think I'm giving you something spooky to watch during this Halloween season. So with that being said, hello viewers and welcome back to Media 13. My name is Jordan, and let's get into the scary stuff. Now, if somehow you've never seen a movie that utilises the found footage approach, then allow me to give a brief background on this stuff. The found footage genre can be traced back as early as 1980's Cannibal Holocaust, and they tend to be on the cheaper side in terms of film budgets. Movies like the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity were the films that really set the bar and pushed this genre into infamy. With budgets of around $60,000 and $15,000 respectively, this style of filmmaking revealed itself to be a huge success, with both films pulling in insane returns at the box office. Instantly, this showed production companies that found footage was a very low-risk venture, which then unfortunately led to a pretty long stretch where mediocrity was the mainstay. Even with that, however, this subgenre has continued to evolve throughout time. Looking back at Cannibal Holocaust, this was made by a crew that would typically work on documentaries because, in reality, they're the only people that would have access to the type of filmmaking equipment required to make a found footage type film. Over time, with the evolution of technology, we have seen this genre evolve with that, coming with the likes of camcorders, followed then quickly by mobile phones. Now, this point is where the element of mediocrity really makes a stay in this subgenre, and it's one that unfortunately is still a very big part of it even today. However, even in the staleness, this genre still moves forward. We've had movies like Searching, Unfriended, and Host take place through the lens of a computer. 2 of those feature a Skype call setting, with webcams being the primary focus, but Searching takes a completely different approach. Now, this one is kind of pushing the goalposts on what I class as horror. In fact, I'd probably just admit that it's not. But I chose to include it here because, in my eyes, this is going to be looked back on as a very influential found footage movie. And it has a very unique way of storytelling that I'm yet to see any other film really tap into. Searching tells its entire narrative through the screen on the desktop. There's webcam footage, there's constant cycling through messages from the computer, and there's even subplots happening alongside the primary story, told exclusively through news headlines throughout the movie. It's a film that I have contemplated trying to break down. I was going to at one point, but the video was looking like it was going to be far too long, and I would love to maybe revisit that in the past if these videos this month do well, because my god, that movie is fantastic. Despite it not being horror, again, I decided to include this because I think it is very clever in the way that it's telling its story, and it also shows how good this genre can be when it's utilised to its fullest. But then the newest wave of these movies goes even further than that, with movies like Dashcam, which, in fairness, is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen and is leagues behind 2020's Spree. It's pushing the genre yet again, this time being told entirely through live stream services, which gives the whole movie this eerie dose of realism and anxiety, given how our world seems to slowly become more accustomed to the idea of people live streaming their entire lives on the internet. Horrific stories like the one seen in Spree could be real and could be happening on the internet right now because this equipment is so easily accessible to everyone around the world. That is a big reason I am so excited for the future of this genre going forward, just because of how much more accessible this technology is coming around the world and the different means of storytelling that could come as a result of that. But that is the reality with most of these movies, and to round it up, found footage movies are literally what the title implies. Rather than being produced like a conventional everyday film, these movies are filmed entirely from the point of view of the protagonists, which in turn places us right behind the camera too. However, just because these movies tend to be reliant on a lot of found footage tropes, doesn't mean they're exclusive. Searching showed that these movies can and will be experimental with their means of building a narrative. And in a time where painfully average movies were plaguing this subgenre, one Australian film stood out, and that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Now, just a warning, the film is Lake Mungo, and the video next week is going to be going into heavy spoilers. I'm talking pretty much the entire plot, because there really isn't a way that I could talk about this film in the way that I wanted while keeping it spoiler free. So with that being said, if you have a chance to watch it, if you have any way of watching it before seeing the video, definitely do that, because this film definitely benefits from that first viewing experience. That, and I truly believe it to be one of the best found footage films ever made, and all three of the ones that I'm covering this month are what I believe to be that. But do not worry, because if you aren't interested in watching the film, my video will feature the plot, so you're gonna know what the story is by the end of that anyway. And full clarification, this video right here really shouldn't exist. Initially this was going to be tagged on to the start of next week's video, and then I realised that I'd sort of have to put it on the start of the next video and the video after that too, because they're all part of the same series. And that, partnered with the already pretty long duration of each video, just wasn't really working out, so I figured I'd throw this out here on week 1 and make it a 4-week thing instead of a 3. But yeah, if you enjoyed this sort of little mini genre breakdown, then be sure to let me know, because I'd be happy to do other subgenres in the future, maybe a little more in depth. With that being said, my name has been Jordan, you have been watching Media13's introduction to found footage horror, and I will see you all next week where we will be talking about